Good evening. Totally 100% not planned. Also, the fact that I just did this video and I know for a fact it was almost 14 minutes because I was 99% of the way through the backing music, which is about 7 and a bit minutes long, and I know it had stopped and started again because it's in the ear rolls here. So anyway, so I know vaguely what I'm going to say, even though I usually forget half of what I'm going to say after I've already said it. So Mook is the word for today. Now, Mook is funny because it doesn't really get used in Australia. I haven't really heard anyone use it. I called someone a Mook, a few years ago. It's not commonly in the vernacular, but you hear the in the gangster films, people say it. So the interwebs, the Merriam-Webster says, Mook is slang, a foolish, insignificant, or contemptible person. So, the gangsters saying, "You mook." But then they also say cannoli and forget about it. Anyway. So then you wonder, with a word like mook, where did it come from? So is it, what's the etymology of it? I'll tell you a story about the etymology of something in a minute. Anyway, I don't really know where it comes from, but it's probably a form of moke, which appeared in Britain in the early 19th century as a regional slang for donkey. I don't know what that has to do with anything, but this is what the interweb says, so it must be true because nothing that was ever on the internet was untruthful. No one knows the roots of moke either. Oh, great. So they're using a word that they didn't know the use of to describe a word that they don't... They're using a word that they don't know the origin of to describe a word that they don't know the origin of. I wonder how far back that goes. It's like Schrodinger's word or something. It's both alive and dead all at once. No one knows the roots of moke either, but it has also been used to mean a fool or contemptible person. Well, there you go. Mook. So... etymology is a funny thing. You get a bunch of words that we use for a lot of different things. Like you say, that's fully sick. Well, fully and sick mean completely different things in completely different contexts. And sometimes it's really, really, really difficult to explain the context of a thing. You look at English all by itself. There are a bunch of words in English that sound identical that have completely different meanings, and it depends on the context. Now, if they're written, you know the context. But if they're spoken... sometimes you need to speak much more clearly in order for the people you are communicating with to understand the specifics of the word that you are using. There, and there. Your, and your. Where, and where. But sometimes my brain doesn't even know how to spell Y, because in my brain I just see a Y. Just, the letter Y. And it's just weird. So I kept looking over there because of the recorded 14 minutes and didn't get any of it in the can. Bugger. Anyway, so the etymology story. So in Star Trek, The Next Generation. So I've always been a Trekkie. Well, not always. Since I was aware it existed, I've been a Trekkie. The original Star Trek is its own unique thing that's very, very dated by the specifics of when it was made. So when it was made, it was far further reaching, far higher ideals were being professed that are not necessarily as high ideals as we profess. But that's what happens with time. Things change, people progress, things progress. It is what it is. Anyway, I had something horrible. Well, somebody else had something horrible happen to them, and they were my partner, and they ended up not being alive anymore. And all I basically did for months and months and months and months was just watch Star Trek. So I'd go down to Video Easy. This dates it. Go down to Video Easy, get a couple of VHS cassettes of Star Trek The Next Generation, come home, watch them, go back to Video Easy, get a couple more, watch them. I think it was 2 or 3 episodes on each tape. So I really was watching the heck out of it. The only reason I slept is because the video shop was shut and I couldn't go back and get more videos. And late night TV in the late 90s was a bit shit. as a general rule. It was either old stuff I'd already seen and had no interest in seeing again, or it was new stuff that I didn't really have any interest in seeing, but the new stuff was on earlier in the day, and that would have interrupted my Star Trek time. Anyway, there was this one episode of Star Trek The Next Generation. Couldn't tell you which episode of Star Trek The Next Generation it was. It was one of them. I can for certain say that it was one of them. And there's a character in that show called Lieutenant Commander Data. Data is an android. Now, the android is trying to understand people, but at the end of the day, he's a little bit autistic when it comes to understanding cues from humans. I've met people that are very, very similar in their lack of understanding of cues. Someone said a statement to him, which is burning the midnight oil, and he asked, what is the etymology of that idiom? Now, this isn't the story, this is just setting up the story. Yes, I know, I ramble a lot, and I tend to prevaricate and go off on tangents all the time. That's just me, that's what happens. Anyway, he asked what the etymology of that idiom was, and then he paraphrased it at some point by saying something like igniting the midnight petroleum or something like that. So my last girlfriend had a daughter, and when she was about 7, I taught her to ask the question, what is the etymology of that idiom? And that question was to be presented to any of her teachers or any adults when they used a word or a phrase that she didn't understand or didn't want to understand. So I would have loved to have seen the look on the teacher's face, and I know that she had said it more than once because the teacher actually had to note it in her report card. But anyway, that's besides the point. So context is important, but I think we've lost a lot of nuance and context out of our everyday communications. So try writing a snarky comment on the internet that's meant to be facetious, and it just gets lost, and you end up with people biting your head off, and you have to go, whoa, 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 hold your horses, get down off that high horse that you're now holding. And it was a joke, or it was sarcastic, or whoa, whoa, I'm on your side. The 8 million fucking emojis should have given you evidence that I was joking. Anyway, excuse my French. Yeah, I know that's not French, but whatever. Anyway, that's really pretty close to all I've got to say. I thought Mook's an interesting word that we don't really use. It'd be interesting to see if anyone can use it in everyday life. Maybe the modern version of that is a Karen. I don't know. I don't understand what a Karen is at the end of the day, because all sides of the political spectrum use it to describe something completely different. See what I mean by lack of nuance and lack of context? It can make communicating quite difficult sometimes. Anyway, be excellent to each other. Be excellent to yourself. Have a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful evening. Have a great weekend. Hope the year's going good for you. If it's not, hope it gets better. And peace.